This is my review of the Spyderco Manix 2 2010 production model knife, folding pocket knife. This is different than the limited sprint run editions put out by Spyderco, mainly in that the handle is the standard black G10 opposed to the blue. Also, it has full steel liners instead of the skeletonized that come with the sprint run, so it is a slightly heavier knife. About 5 ounces, still not that bad though. The blade steel is different, as well as the fact that the production model is a hollow ground and the sprint run is a full flat ground. But this is about the production model, not the sprint run, so here are the production model specs. 8 inches overall, 4 5/8 for the handle, 3 3/8 for the blade. The edge is 2 7/8 long. G10 for the handle, composite material made of fiberglass and resin, which is superheated and compressed to make an impervious, lightweight handle. The steel for the blade is 15.4 cm, which has what I'm going to call a matted or satin finish on it, so it's not as highly reflective as a mirror finish blade. For example, and comparison, I have another knife here. This would be a polished mirror finish compared to the Spyderco's satin, flat finish. One of the major benefits to the flat finish to the polished finish, at least what I'm hoping, I haven't had enough time sharpening this guy yet, what you get with the mirror polish after a while, if you got a close-up, which my camera won't let me do very well, you will see actually the markings along the edge from running your stone or whatever you use to sharpen it. Okay, so one side, the other side, the back, and the front. That's all you get for close-ups. This is my first Spyderco knife. I've been reluctant in the past to get one, mainly because I'm so used to having a thumb stud on my pocket knives. I wasn't sure how I would enjoy the hole that Spyderco seems to be very fond of, and I can really see why they're fond of this particular style. I mean, I've had this probably 5 months now, and I really enjoy the hole. I mean, you can pretty much hit it from just about any angle and you'll get it to open up, instead of having to worry about with a thumb stud, where the stud is in comparison to like your little cutouts, or if the ramp on the thumb stud is good enough for you to get a grip on. So the hole is their standard 14mm hole. I'm not complaining. I think it's a great design, and I'm very happy that I finally decided to try a Spyderco out. Just wish I had done it sooner. Other specs on this thing, you got their standard, well, not standard, they call it the oversized lanyard hole. The handle here is made of G10. I have another pocket knife that has G10 handle. It's the Cold Steel Recon 1 past production model. They redesigned it with a lock back instead of the Axes knockoff that they had. This G10, while it is good, it's lightweight, but I would say it's not as aggressive as the G10 on my Cold Steel Recon 1. It actually is a little slippy when your hand gets more than a little wet. Say you pick it up and you've been messing around in the snow or in a river or something like that. You might get a little slippage if it just had the G10 to rely on. However, with this particular knife, the buzzword is jimping. And for those of you who actually know what that is and know where the buzzword comes from, this knife has it in spades. Along here on the back of the spine, on the back of the blade ramp here, all in here there's jimping, and jimping here. For those of you who don't know what that is, at least in the case of this particular knife, the steel liners protrude just a little bit past the G10 handle here, and they have little waves cut into them. So what they do is when you grab the knife, they, for lack of a better term, bite into your hand to give you a better grip on the knife. So you get a nice firm grip on there. You even have a little bit of jimping up in the throat of the blade here, so if you wanted to do it for more of a precision cutting thing, you have that option too. Like I said, it's my first experience with the Spydercos. I'm really happy so far with the way this knife has been performing. I always thought that the spider there kind of looked like a tick though, not an actual spider. I haven't had really much experience playing with the serrated edge on this guy yet. I haven't had many cutting jobs that I've needed to do recently that required me to use the cutting edge. I do prefer to get mine partially serrated because that's just how I like my knives. Another fun fact is the cage ball lock here. They call it the encased ball bearing lock. I liked it because it was very similar to a axis lock. I've kind of grown very attached to my axis locks. I don't really like lockbacks. Yeah, I know the lockups are really solid on the lockback, but for me, I don't want to have to mess around with folding it and flipping it over in order to get to the locking mechanism. And I wanted something stronger than a liner lock. So I've been sticking with the axis lock. This is as similar as I could find on a knife that I really liked in the Spyderco line, but it wasn't an axis lock. They call it cage ball lock. I'm not complaining about the cage ball lock. It's a solid lockup, no wiggle, either way. The only problem is when I first got the knife, the cage ball lock is very stiff to manipulate. I had to sit there for probably a whole day just doing that so I could weaken up the spring enough that it wasn't, really needing to be forced to get open. Now, I'm not saying that the spring is weak at all, because it's not, but it just needed to be manipulated enough so it didn't take a lot of pressure and force to get it open. So, cage ball lock, need a little working to get used to, but it's working fine now. I can manipulate it very quickly, very easily, and I do. Let's see. Another small factor that I didn't quite like about the Spyderco, out of the box, the blade edge is going to be what I call serviceable, meaning it will cut, it is sharp, but it's not what I would consider razor sharp. I did have to touch up the edge a little bit when I first got it. I did, lay right into cutting when I got it, but the edge wasn't where I wanted it to be. Again, in comparison to other knife manufacturers that I've gotten in the past, it was serviceable, you could cut with it, just not what I would consider razor sharp. Now, because I am a fiend for, I told you what the specs were, I showed you it with a ruler attached to the bottom of the sheet there, but you might not fully grasp how this actually looks in real life, because specs are one thing, holding it in front of me, it's not really going to do anything for you. So what I've come to actually like doing is putting it next to something that most people have seen. In this case, here's the Manix 2 production model next to a AA battery. Give you an idea of the size there. Manix 2 next to a particular lighter brand. Next, Manix 2 next to the water bottle. Can of soda. Couldn't find a standard number 2, so it's the same size, but it'll give you a general comparison here. And deck of cards. Because I lost my other deck of cards, I had to get a new one. And that's the size comparison for the Manix 2 compared to everyday objects that you might find around your house. Now, if you actually go out to the website, order a catalog, and you're, don't want to mess with the other items to try and figure out how large you're looking at, get the catalog, and right there on the front cover, it's the Manix 2. And it is pretty darn close in size comparison if you're trying to figure out if the Manix 2 is something you're going to be interested in. One of the items that I actually did neglect to go with, I forgot to mention the pocket clip. I really like this pocket clip a lot. The ramp on it is very smooth and it sits deep in your pocket. For those who want to switch, you can swap the pocket clip over so you can carry it lefty or righty. It's going to be tip up carry no matter which way you do it, so what it's going to do is it's going to sit in your pocket thusly with the tip up. But I can't give it singing praises for the pocket clip. I've heard it's the standard pocket clip. I like the design of the pocket clip. I like where it's sitting. The only thing about this particular pocket clip that I don't like, that I didn't realize I wouldn't like, because all of my other pocket clips aren't what I would consider the polished finish, which this one actually is. It's a very high polished finish, and it's very visible when light hits it. Let's say if you're reaching for something and your shirt happens to go up a little bit, this is actually very visible. I was hoping it would be a little more muted, but it's not. But that's a small setback for this knife, for this clip I should say in general. I'll probably end up hitting it with like a Brillo pad or something to like roughen it up, make it a little less visible in the light. It's up to you what you want to do with the pocket clip. I like it, aside from just the fact that it's shiny. It sits very deep in your pocket, which I will show you. Alright, here so you can see how deeply seated it sits in your pocket. You can kind of see how shiny the pocket clip is there with the lights I have on top. You know, deployment, very smooth. The knife itself is 5 ounces heavy, if you want to call it that. This is actually one of the lightest blades that I've ever gotten, which I know a lot of people say in comparison this is actually a heavier blade than they want to do for EDC, but I actually really like how light this blade is, this knife is. 5 ounces to me, not that big of a deal. I've actually, when I first got this knife, I was so not used to having a knife that light that it actually almost made its way through the washing machine. Before I caught it, I saw the pocket clip shine at me, and I realized that I had left the knife in my pocket. So I think it's a light knife. It's good for EDC, in my opinion. Let's see. I did forget to mention this. It's an important fact. The width here for EDC carry. If you're going to be carrying this, you want it to be kind of thin. So this is going to be about just shy of ½ an inch. It's decently thick. You can get a good grip on it, whether you use the jimping along the ramp here in the back, or if you get a grip on it like that. So you're good. Let's see. If you get this directly from Spyderco, they're asking for about $130. You can find it cheaper. Just go into, you know, whatever online store you want to use. I was able to find this guy from Amazon for like 75 bucks. It's a good knife, but I'm still not going to pay $130 for it. I highly recommend this knife. It's a good EDC workhorse knife, and I think if you purchased it, you would be very happy with it.